So, with your permission, shall we start?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
A very warm welcome and a very good morning to all the distinguished guests, speakers, and dear colleagues on 35 years of Chris. The session on reimaging passenger services and the role of emerging technologies primarily aims at keeping the passenger or our customer at the focus of all technological advancements. Chris, for one, is an organization which touches the lives of millions of people every day, the lives of millions of rail passengers every day. And every day we witness how technological advancements help in rendering of services in a seamless manner. Today, as we gather here for Chris Day, we gain from the experiences, knowledge, and wisdom of the distinguished speakers, the five speakers that we have from different fields of working associated with transportation of passengers and panelists. We also rejoice that we are a part of the system in CRIS that helps us in enriching the lives of our customers, the passengers, by providing them better and better service every day to more and more number of people by the sheer use of technological advancements. On that note, may I now request the Director, Passenger Services, Chris, Shri D.K. Singh, to welcome all.
Good morning to everyone. On behalf of Chris, I welcome everybody to this technical session. Everybody, those who will be giving the gyan and those who will be receiving the gyan. A very fruitful and interesting next 2 hours of discussion. As the topic suggests, we have to not imagine but reimagine. Being a student of political science and management and not being a technical person or engineer, I would like to put my own views about this topic and how I would like to set the tone for the coming discussion. Based upon my experience as a student of management and political science, I can make two profound statements about India as such and Indian Railway indirectly. The history of pre-India since 1947, there have been two momentous years. The first was 1947, when we got political freedom and we became a democracy. And the second was in 1991, when we really got the economic freedom in form of liberalization of our economy. In 1947, what was great? What had happened? Because everybody got freedom. And what is freedom? Freedom is the ability and right to make choices. In 1947, everybody was poor. Poor were poor, rich were also poor because they had no choice. यदि आपको 1950 में या 60 में कोई कार खरीदनी थी तो आपके पास कोई चॉइस नहीं थी, या तो आप एम्बेसडर खरीदिए या फिएट खरीदिए. दोनों ही बहुत ही घटिया क्वालिटी की कार थी, बहुत महंगी थी. I remember in 1990, a Fiat ambassador cost 2 lakh rupees. For that much money today, if you adjust for inflation, you will get 25 lakh rupees and you can buy a beautiful SUV. So in 1947, the rich were rich, but they were poor because they had no choice. And in 1991, everybody is rich. Rich are richer in the sense that they can buy any car they want. But a poor person who is earning 10,000 rupees, if he wants to buy a motorcycle, there will be 20, motorcycle makers and their vendors coming to him कि भाई 500 रुपए तुम एक दे दो हमको नीचे अमाउंट और 5,000 रुपए करके 5 साल में तुम EMI देना, मेरी मोटरसाइकिल ले लो. So the choice, the freedom to make your choice is the essence of any, system from the customer point of view. Those of who grew in 1960s, 70s, we always thought that PT shoe has only one color. It is white and it is made of, कैनवस, बीएससी और बाटा के हम लोग जूते पहन पहन करके पैर फट जाते थे। आई रिमेम्बर इन 1991 या 1980s में रिबॉक शू का बड़ा फैशन था। और रिबॉक शू किसको मिलता था? जिसके कोई चाचा, मामा, somebody who has a relative in Canada or USA, they will come and they bring a pair of Reebok shoe, and many times worn Reebok shoes used by their children, and they will give to their poor cousins in India. Or people like us who are in Allahabad and Varanasi, we will go to Nepal border to buy Reebok shoes, and in most cases those were fake Reebok shoes. Today Reebok is not a premium brand, it is not an aspirational brand, because there is so much choice. Why I am saying about this story of choice? Because that fits today's discussion and today's topic. We are talking about passenger services of Indian Railways. 20 years back, Indian Railway didn't face any competition. If you wanted to move from Delhi to Bombay, you had no choice. If you are a common man or you have a low income, you have to go by train, because the roads were not that good, airfares were very high. What is the scenario today? If you want to go from Delhi to Bombay, if you are four friends and you go by your car, you can reach Bombay in 20-22 hours, taking a break at Jaipur and Udaipur, enjoying the scenery, and the whole trip per person will cost less than the third AC fare of train. And if you want to fly alone, you can fly to Bombay in 4,000 rupees, which is almost similar to the cost of second AC, and you'll be saving one full day. Now time is money, so if you adjust for that, air travel and road travel is cheaper than rail. So why anybody would want to travel by rail? Because the air connectivity has increased, the roads have improved, expressways, freeways, air terminals, air connectivity has increased. So we have to do something, something out of box to retain our traffic. And there comes the role of reimagining passenger services. And you know, I have a take on marketing and services, passenger services. We were taught in management schools that what is marketing? Marketing is the first you identify the customer need and then you try to satisfy it. I don't think that is marketing definition is valid anymore. आज के दिन marketing का मतलब है कि first make a product and create a need. The customer should want not what he needs. He should want what you want him to want. आप उसके लिए बनाइए, उसके लिए नीड क्रिएट करिए और फिर अपना सामान बेचिए. You all know the theory of hypnosis. आप अपने कस्टमर को हिप्नोटाइज कर दीजिए कि वो वही मांगेगा जो आपके पास है. ये नहीं कि उसको जो चाहिए वो आप देंगे, आपके पास जो है उसको आप बेच दीजिए. यही आज की दिन मार्केटिंग है. एंड हियर कम द रोल ऑफ एआई, मशीन लर्निंग, डाटा क्रंचिंग, डाटा माइनिंग, डाटा एनालिटिक्स. कि पैसेंजर को क्या क्या उसके दिमाग में आ सकता है, उसकी क्या क्या रिक्वायरमेंट हो सकती है. अब सोचिए कि पैसेंजर बैठा हुआ है ट्रेन में और उसको सर में मसाज करवाना है, तो आप ये समझ लीजिए कि उसके लिए मसाज का भी कोई सिस्टम हो सकता है. आप उसका एक एआई के थ्रू आप उसका एक पता कर सकते हैं कि उसके क्या क्या उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट, क्या क्या उसकी जो है प्रेफरेंस हो सकती है. उसके डेटा जनरेट कर सकते हैं, प्राइस पॉइंट्स को फिक्स कर सकते हैं. तो ये सब जो चीजें हैं, we have to add value to the passenger. Only then he will be there to be retained by you. Because anybody who is selling a product or service, customer satisfaction is not going to satisfy the customer, because if you are giving a good service, he will be with you. But if he get a better service or slightly lesser price service, he will move. He has no emotional connect with you. Unless you emotionally connect with your customer, it is very difficult to survive in today's world. So when we are talking about reimagining passenger services, we have to reimagine passenger services. That's for where we can emotionally connect with our passengers, because unless you emotionally invest with your customer, he is a free bird. He can move anywhere, wherever he gets a better value and better service. I would like to end my this whole speech with one anecdote which I heard somewhere, but I don't know whether it is true or not, but I think it is true. When Air India was owned by Tata's and JRD was the whole and soul of Air India, on one flight from London to Delhi, the air hostess spilled the coffee at the jacket of one of the passengers in business class who was a Englishman unintentionally, and then she profusely apologized to him. Even the captain came and he was satisfied that he knew that it was not intentional. 1 week later on, a beautiful, bone china dinner set was delivered at his address, signed by JRD himself, saying that I am sending this a small gift. What happened with you cannot be undone. But I am giving this small gift to you just to make you feel that you are our valued customer and we won't like to lose it. So that type of reimagination is required if we really want to flourish, to grow our passenger business. And there comes the role of AI to help us imagine what the customer wants and make efforts to fulfill those desires and wants. So we have to be one step ahead to the customer. We have to create a desire, a requirement, and sell those ideas to him. And there comes the role of you know behavioral changes, which can be done through AI and machine learning. The role of AI in machine learning in predictive analysis and predictive maintenance, that is there. But how you can play with the emotion and behavior of customer, I think that is the challenge which railway has to face in times to come. It want to retain and grow its passenger business. With it, this is small insight which I have got from my experience. I hope that our esteemed guest speakers who are veterans and leaders in their own field, they are heading one of few of the best companies in India. I hope their knowledge and experience will help our engineers to imagine what the customer service can be in the area of passenger business, make efforts to realize those reimagined dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Indeed, it was a very all encompassing, enriching talk by you. How the customer, the passenger in our case, and the customer is the focus, and around him, all the technological advancements progress and evolve to in order to satisfy the requirement and also in order to create a new world around him. Before we take the session forward, I would request General Manager PRS, Shri Vinod Bhatia, to give an overview of passenger reservation system. So kindly enlighten us.
Respected speakers and attendees, I shall share my presentation on PRS. Yes, screen one. Two. Shashank? Shashank, you can kindly share that? Yeah.
Okay, okay, sir. I'm
Yeah. Passenger reservation system, the application has been developed by Chris, and the basic application was in form of concert, which was given by Chris in 1999. Till date, this application has been scaled 40 times. Now, there are near about 3,500 terminals as well as 9,100 counters on pan-India basis, which are being served by this application. We are having the distributed architecture of 4 data centers through which the services are given to our esteemed customers. Our disaster recovery center is in Secunderabad, and the application is quite complex. There are 165 types of coaches as well as 40 types of quotas and 260 types of concessions which are being dealt in this application to give services to the passengers. The application is also quite complex business-wise. There are 540 functionalities and near about 2.5 millions of lines of codes are there. The application, PRS application, deals with near about 1,000 write transactions per second and near about 8,000 read transactions per second. On the basis of this architecture, we are able to book near about 26,500 tickets in a minute. Presently, because of this COVID pandemic, the share of e-tickets is on rise. Near about 84% share has been witnessed on day-to-day basis. But on average basis, we can say that 78% of PRS bookings are booked online. The concurrent users in the system is more than 0.5 million. And this figure has been scaled 12 times. In 2014, the application was serving near about 40,000 concurrent users. And similarly, when we are booking near about 26,500 tickets per minute, in 2014, the system was catering to 7,200 tickets per minute. So the system has been scaled 3 times in last 6 years. Next, please. The application is not a standalone application. It's serving other applications of Indian Railways also. A few of these are integrated coach management systems, rate branch systems. We are having APIs with Aadhaar, then web-enabled refund system, Rail e-Drishti, retining room booking, e-catering, complaint management, GST system of Indian Railways, then traffic management, as well as the unreserved ticketing system, handheld terminals. So I can say that this PRS application is integrated with other applications of Indian Railway. Next, please. Last year, after pandemic, we have introduced new features like QR code for ticketless checking. This feature has been introduced in July 2020, and near about 75,000 requests are being received on per day basis on our servers. Similarly, we have started multi-lab journey inquiry over our website as well as mobile app. On 7th April 2021, near about 4.4 million inquiries are being registered on this application. We are working on new generation PRS. We are giving the facility of graphic user interface to our railway operators so that they can provide the services efficiently and quickly. And next is that we have given that e-ticketing facility to our railway employees also, and this facility has been started on 31st July 2020. Till date, near about 0.4 million tickets have been booked by the railway employees through their railway passes. On 31st December, we have introduced the booking of meals as well as retining rooms and hotels on our e-ticketing website, that is IRCTC website. And there are near about 6.86 crore registered users on this website who are getting that e-ticket services through this online. Next, we have given the personalized user experience through the predictive station search as well as display of upcoming journey, so that the user has not to again and again put in his details whenever he has to book the new ticket. Yes, next please. Technologies. So let me give you some idea about the new technologies which we are giving for the next generation PRS. In this, the work of new generation PRS is having evolutionary approach, means the current system of PRS will not be stopped whenever the new PRS will be introduced. we are going for cloud native application, which is a microservice based architecture, as well as Kubernetes, and then polyglot data layer and DevOps. So these facilities we want to provide through so that the customer can have a seamless ticketing experience on e-ticketing website. This is a brief idea about the PRS system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So indeed, your brief presentation, you could enlist all the changes over years that have taken place due to technology, its advancement, and with the help of emerging technologies. Now we move towards the live sessions of our distinguished speakers and panelists. I invite our first speaker, Shri Vivek Srivastava. Vivek Srivastava sir has graduated and is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur. And after the technological enrichment, he moved on to do his LLB. And he has worked on many important and distinguished posts like ADRM Delhi, CCM Passenger Marketing and Passenger Services, GGM IRCTC, Director Operations and Business Development, DFCCIL, and now he's the Executive Director of Railway Board. Sir has been instrumental in reimaging passenger services in its own way. His efforts, along with his team, have bagged Gold Award in Governance category in the year 2020 and Silver Award in the Excellence in Citizen-Centric Delivery category in 2019 National E-Governance Awards. Sir, you are so accomplished. I wouldn't want to take this space for more time. And I hand over the space to share with us your experiences and enrich us how to go about reimaging passenger services with a focus on emerging technologies. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my proud privilege to address this August gathering today. I must thank the organizers who have given me this opportunity to talk on Chris Day. I shall be talking on Rail Madad, the complaint management portal and entity on Indian Railways. So prior to Rail Madad coming on the scene, the Indian Railways, the grievance management was handled in a decentralized manner. There were various channels and they fell into three distinct categories. The first was, of course, the manual system where there was a complaint book. The usual complaint being that the complaint book itself is not available. The second was a plethora of helpline numbers ranging from 138, 182, vigilance, catering, etc. And lastly, there were some online systems like the complaint management systems and the Coach Mitra. All these systems work in Discord. There was no unanimity between them, and the customer really did not know which particular channel to go to. As a result, there were a lot of cross connections and a wastage of manpower. The registration was cumbersome across all these systems. Too much information was being asked for. They were all manpower intensive and officer centric. All the assignments, etc., were done manually in these systems. The results were very meager. The time for disposal was awfully high. And there was a concept of citizen charter which stipulated certain timelines for certain grievance to be addressed. And there was no way these decentralized systems of grievance management were helping in that. So with these perspectives, it was decided that Rail Madad should learn from all these deficiencies, and with a lot of brainstorming, we moved on to Rail Madad. And this was the process innovations. These were the 5 keywords: convergence, delayering, interoperability, replicability, and adaptability, and scalability. So when I say scalable, it does not merely mean that I have the capacity to add more trains or more stations as we go along, but we have actually have the capacity to expand not only vertically but also horizontally. So recently we have added a complete module on the complaints for Divyangjan and for the ladies with special need, which will become operational maybe in a day or two. Then there was a concept of replicability and adaptability. So we have used this adaptability and the basic concept that exists in Rail Madad to design the parcel and luggage facilitation system, whereby we have provided a direct access to our freight and parcel customers to the commercial team at the divisional level. So this really helps. So ever since its commissioning, we are getting about 300 calls per day on the parcel and facilitation portal. In fact, the FBD also uses this. Then there was, of course, interoperability. Interoperability basically means that we interact with all the other systems, other IT systems which are existing, where we have information which is of relevance to us, and we fetch that information from there rather than asking the customer a whole lot of information. So these were the five innovation that we had worked on. So first of all, let us talk about convergence. As you can see in this pictorial, 139 has become the biggest integration. In fact, the project started as an effort to integrate all the helpline numbers. The Honorable Minister had asked that. But then as we went along, we realized that 139 itself could become a channel feeding the Rail Mother, which is also taking inputs from social media, CPgrams, web and app and dark and email and everything. So this is available. We have plans to move to WhatsApp very shortly. The 139 itself is an integration of a large number of railway helplines, including the security helplines. It was decided in the about 6 months ago that there was no point in having two separate helplines, and therefore 182 is now merged with 139. We are also getting hooked up to the National Disaster Management number, which is 112, something which is akin to 911 in USA. It is in the advanced stage of development. We have already got developed the APIs, and very shortly we will be connected with them. This is how Rail Madad works. The complainant is, first of all, the identity is established through an OTP or through a registration. Then he can come through any of these channels. Once he approaches the Rail Madad with his basic information, we generate a RRN. What is RRN? It is the railway reference number, and it is a simple generation based on the today's date, the date of the complaint, and a 5-digit number follows, which is sequentially numbered from 1 onwards. So the advantage of this kind of RRN is that it does not differentiate between the various channels from where it came. Nothing is there. As soon as the RRN is generated, it is acknowledged and sent as a acknowledgement to the complainant, and then the complaint processing starts, which could involve interim reply and a two-way communication asking for additional information, etc., etc. And then once the complaint is resolved, there is a feedback mechanism. I'm very happy to report that nearly 25% of all the complaints that we handle, people give us a feedback, and out of those who give us this feedback, nearly 3/4, 75% people rate us as either satisfactory or excellent. Delayering is something which is the crux of our achievements. It has really helped us in reduce the time that we take in addressing a particular complaint. Through this simple pictorial, we will now explain. Now there is a complainant, his identity is established. Now there could be a complaint either of a train or a station. For the purpose of this discussion, let us take the train, because this is more complicated. It is a moving object moving across various divisions on railway zones. Now let us suppose that he says that it is a train complaint. We ask his PNR, and once the PNR is known through the PRS interaction, we know exactly his train number, coach number, and berth number. Since we are also integrated with NTS, we also know where that particular train is located at that particular time. So now we know the location of the train and the train number, etc. There is something which I must share for those people who are with non-railway background, that each train and each station, for that matter, is uniquely owned by one particular division on Indian Railways. There is no duality. It is uniquely owned. So once I know the train number, I know which is the owning division. I also know where the train is located. With this information, we proceed further to the third point, that within a train, there could be complaints. The causes could be coach cleanliness, electrical equipment, bedroll, air conditioning not working, etc., etc. Let us say that he selects coach cleanliness, and within coach cleanliness, there are certain subheads such as toilets, wash basins, coach interiors, torn and dirty curtains, etc. Supposing he selects toilets. So now we know that it is a particular complaint is of a toilets being dirty on a particular train. Now look at the right hand side of the pictorial. There are 70 divisions, 70 odd divisions on Indian Railways, and on each division there is a control which works round the clock. We have 7 departments which sit on that particular control, manning it round the clock. These departments are carriage and wagon, electrical, security, operating, commercial, engineering, and signal and telecommunications. Now, once we know these 7 departments are there, each department has a unique functions assigned to it. So, for that matter, the toilets being dirty is a domain of carriage and wagon. So now I know the alert has to go to the carriage and wagon department of the owning division and the division on which the train is physically located. So there the alert goes automatically based on the complaint that has been made by the complainant. In addition, this also goes to the commercial control. So this was the situation till very recently, where the alerts would go to the controls, the concerned controls on the division on which the train originated from the owning division and on which the train was actually physically located. Now, in addition, we have also added one more layer. We are now able to map the onboard staff of commercial department, of security department, and very shortly we will be adding C&W department also. So the alerts would go to them also directly. So this is what is we are saying further delayering of the concepts. So delayering really helps us and making the system very, very robust. Now, for a system to really deliver, we also should have a process of monitoring. Otherwise, everything going to the control, if left unmonitored, probably no complaint would ever get addressed. So this is what we have built in. This is known as auto escalation, as we call it. So we have service level allowances for each of the service deficiencies that is reported. So for example, for cleaning a train, a toilet, on a train on which we have onboard housekeeping staff, the time given to us is 45 minutes. No more, no less. So if the complaint is not done, addressed within 45 minutes on a train which is OBHS, it gets escalated to the next level, which is the branch officer level. And again, certain time is given to that particular officer for that particular deficiency. And if it is not addressed within that time, then we say that SLA2 has also been breached, and then it moves to the ADRM. And that is the final level. We do not move it beyond that. I'm very happy to report that the breaches do not take place in more than 12% of the cases. 88% of the cases are done within SLA1, and only in about 9% we breach SLA1 and go to SLA2, and only about 3% we go up to SLA2. So we have detailed escalation matrix and SLA matrix, which I will skip since we are running already late. This is the Rail Madad helpline flow chart. You can just have a look for about 10 seconds on this. For the security, medical, and accident assistance, there is no waiting time. The call immediately gets connected to an agent. There is no IVR for that. This is what the statistics have for our Rail Madad. So as you can see, for the current year, we are having about 1100 complaints per day, which has gone up to about 1300 for the month of June as the number of trains have gone up. Please note that 86% of the complaints are getting disposed in less than 2 hours, and average disposal time is less than 3 hours. We get excellent and satisfactory feedback from nearly 74% of the people. A system will not be useful if it does not give any feedback to the rail managers. For example, they must know that which particular train or which particular station is having worst cases. So this kind of trend analysis is available where we generate scenarios for the worst 5 stations, worst 10 stations, or worst 10 trains, etc. This can be done across zones, across Indian Railways, across division, etc. And then we also know which particular complaints are causing that particular type of performance. We also have a drill down where the complete detail of the information is available. So here we have a particular type of complaint. This is carriage and wagon train toilets not being clean. assessed over 2 month period. So we select, then we get the position for all the railways, and from within the railway, we select one railway, say NF railway, we get for all the divisions. Then within the divisions, we know if we click on the total number of complaints, we get all the complaints serially. And if we click on any particular complaint, then this comes out as a detail of that particular complaint is available on the right hand side. Complete detail of this particular uh, transaction is there, the complaint, when it was recorded, how it was dealt, who dealt it, etc. Everything is there. So this is with a complete audit trail. This is the technology behind it. So our system is a UI device agnostic. It is totally in-house servers based, and there is a low network bandwidth. Please appreciate in that in this entire thing, we have enabled a person who is having a simple Nokia Asha type of a basic phone, and he or she is able to speak to one of the call center executives and get a complaint recorded in a language of his or her choice. We support 12 languages round the clock, and he or she has a 86% assurance that within 2 hours the complaint would be addressed. So this is something which was unimaginable and the norm, and difficult to beat even for the best of the corporations in India. The road ahead is very simple. We are planning to add a feedback mechanism whereby every customer who is traveling and whose phone details are with us will get at the end of the journey a message to rank our services, to give a feedback. The trial has already been conducted in last month, and we will be launching it full-fledged from the next busy season. We are going to be integrated with CPgram so that all the complainants which are coming to CPgram will be directly connected to us. We will be adding private service providers for incentives and penalties by generating some kind of a MIS for the deficiencies which are noticed or the feedback profiles which are getting generated. We have already connected to the emergency response systems. We also have plans to develop some kind of a DSS based on these inputs so that the managers are further helped. Some awards that we have won in this journey, and I must thank Chris team for developing the entire coding for this particular software. Specifically, I must mention Amit Jha and Pranjali and Pitambar Verma, who have worked tirelessly with us. That brings me to the end of this presentation. I must seek the forgiveness of the organizers. It normally always happens that whenever I start talking about Rail Madad, I get carried away and exceed my limits. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you indeed for this enlightening session. Satisfactory public grievance redressal is, in fact, the key to winning gold. Now that we know what it takes to win the gold, I move on to our next distinguished speaker, Sri Amit Garg. Sir is the managing director of K-Ride. He is an IRSC officer of 1986 batch and did his MS from Urbana-Champaign, US of A. The vision of K-Ride speaks volume about the organization and its managing director. The vision is DESH, D-E-S-H, DESH. DESH stands for delivering world-class rail infrastructure, enriching rural-urban connectivity, synergy between multiple modes of transport and delivering seamless mobility solutions, holistic transit-oriented development, boosting sustainability. I'm sure all the attendees and the panelists now want to listen to our distinguished speaker rather than me. So I move over to Sri Amit Garg.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'll begin with thanking the MD Chris for giving me this opportunity to speak a little about the initiatives which our company K-Ride is taking in the field of urban mobility continuing the introduction a little more, we in Bangalore are implementing the Bangalore Suburban Railway Project, which is essentially a metro-like system being constructed and then will be operated by KRI in the railway's right of way. Essentially, this is a paradigm shift in terms of policy and a shining example of cooperative federalism between the central government and the government of Karnataka, in which both the governments have come forward to not only share the cost and share the operating expenses, but railways particularly have come forward to lend its land at a nominal lease of ₹1, thereby giving this essentially a very important piece of real estate for construction of a mass rapid rail-based transport system. Our project consists of 4 corridors with a total length of around 150 kilometers, and we'll be building 57 new railway stations, exactly like metro. Our services will be air conditioned with automatic door closing systems, again exactly like metro. One of these 4 corridors will also connect the Bangalore City railway station to the airport, which will give relief to passengers who live far away in this bustling and busy city of Bangalore. Coming to how we have envisioned our stations, we have paid a lot of attention in planning and designing of our stations, and particularly we have tried to be extremely creative, both in terms of making our stations functional, aesthetically brilliant, and also customer friendly. Essentially, most of our stations will be a shopping mall where you can also take a train. We have taken a lot of examples from the world over. Hong Kong Metro, for example, takes 57% of its earnings only from the commercial exploitation of its real estate. So there are some bright shining examples like that. We will try to follow the best examples in the world. India also has some shining examples like this. Delhi Metro, also Bangalore Metro at a few places, have essentially been very successful in commercially exploiting the railway stations. So again, this is again a paradigm shift in terms of how a station is envisioned, how a station is planned, because station by itself is not just a mere mode of transport or taking a ride, but it would provide essential services to the people so that they can come, meet, greet, buy, and also take a train. And this form of transit-oriented development would help us in reducing road-based transport systems. Technology now is drastically transforming every sector, and also including transport. And now particularly, the customer is highly empowered, and in terms of access to information, because of the technological advancements and because of the internet at his disposal. The expectations from public companies and urban mobility companies like ours is now extremely high because of the exposure people have got now. People see, and most of the people have exposure to the best in the world. In the public transport sector also, we are also devising strategies to deal with passenger needs and demands in a holistic manner. Our vision in KRI is agility in mobility. And in this venture, we are wedded to the philosophy of born digital and born green. We'll make sure that all our stations are not only green buildings, but are also intelligent structures in which we use the IoT of things to remotely control most of the equipment like air conditioning or access control or safety systems or fire control systems. All these systems will be controlled by the Internet of Things, by a remote SCADA system, so that not only the manpower is reduced, but our station buildings are smart, which would mean green, green and intelligent. Green in terms of being energy neutral, green in terms of being zero water wastage, green in terms of having solar systems on every rooftop, so that most of our air conditioning needs, most of our electrical needs are met through our own systems by producing our own power. So we are focusing on overall passenger convenience, overall smart stations, correctly positioned in terms of the city infrastructure, fully integrated with every other mode of transport. Since we are within the railways right of way, most of our stations are by their very nature integrated with the Indian railway system. We are also integrated with the Bangalore metro system at 10 stations. So essentially, the Bangalore suburban railway system and the Bangalore metro system would become one single rail transit network. The only difference would be that since Bangalore metro is on a standard gauge and we are on a broad gauge, people will need this migration or transshipment, but we'll make it seamless and effortless. So this way we are approaching our K-Ride stations or to be multimodal in nature, completely integrated with all other modes of transport, commercially thriving, so that every station is not a cost center but a profit center. We are engaging with big time consultants who have done a lot of survey from commercial and business point of view. We have identified developers and investors not only in India but also abroad who would like to come over and invest in our railway stations. Probably we can 4 or 5 of our major locations are like marquee locations where real big time shopping malls can be constructed. Our board, K-Ride board, is also taking it very seriously, and they are supporting this with their policy level inputs from time to time. The government of Karnataka and Ministry of Railways both have shown a lot of interest in ensuring that we successfully implement this and make it an example of this commercial exploitation and not and treating these stations like thriving centers of all kinds of opportunities. We also imagine a scenario where a global traveler, say, he alights at the Bangalore airport and with using the common mobility card, he just takes the suburban train or the metro train from the airport, goes to any tourist spots without buying a ticket. We need to facilitate this kind of scenario. Now that the paper ticketless system has become the norm, and the tickets are mostly electronic on the cell phones, we are actually looking forward to partner with Chris in this effort where our ticket selling, buying, our automatic fare control systems, etc., can be upgraded and can be controlled using systems which Chris has developed. I once again thank MD Chris for having given me this opportunity to address the industry leaders and policy makers on the occasion of the Foundation Day of Chris. Best wishes to Chris as always. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your mission and vision and commitment to delivering world-class metro rail services is commendable. And your talk has left us energized and enriched. Now I invite Mr. Ravi Jakula, Chief Operating Officer, Online Travels and Head Online Products, Indian Subcontinent, Emedis. Mr. Jakula in Emedis is involved with commercial side of activities, overall product strategy and product across travel channels and agencies. He has a work experience of 22 long years in this field, which he ably calls himself a commercial techno person. His experience and involvement allows him to engage, understand, and introspect and manage the business needs with travel transaction entities. With an enriched background, may I now welcome Mr. Ravi Jakula.
80 plus million passengers who were boarded on Amadeus IT backend. And on the distribution side, of course, with an impacted pandemic, it was roughly around 646 plus million bookings that were processed. Even the Dow Jones index, sustainability index, recognizes Amadeus as an industry leader in this space. So as I mentioned, we are into two areas, IT solutions and distribution. Distribution is, of course, with the travel agencies and travel management companies, online travel companies, and so on. And on the travel providers, we have airlines, airport operators, ground handlers, rail operators, hotel properties, and so on. As you can see, over a period of time, Amadeus recognizes research and development as an important area of investment, and it has continuously invested a large part of its revenues into it. And specifically in 2019, it was at around 1,071 million euros. This is a global view of the number of offices and the number of markets Amadeus is present in, 190 plus markets. So yeah, now getting into the theme of today's session, which is largely reimagining passenger services. So I'll talk about the airline IT side of Amadeus. So we have two large solutions. One is Navitaire for low-cost airlines, and another is Altia, which is for full-service carriers. So if you look at with Indigo, Spice, AirAsia, India, and Go First, all are their back-end host is Navitaire, which is an Amadeus company. So close to 80% of all transactions that happen in Indian aviation are on the back end of Amadeus. And roughly around, this is for domestic, and for international, roughly around 50% of all international airlines operating from India point of sale, which are registered with IATA, are hosted on Amadeus. So largely, of course, Amadeus is well known on the distribution side to everyone, but this is a view which gives you as to what we do on the airline IT side. So yes, so everything was going well till COVID happened. The largest impact to travel, it was everything has come to a stalemate. Roughly when it started, 90% of all transactions dropped compared to the pre-COVID levels at 2019. Then of course the whole idea was, how do we get people vaccinated? How do we start travel? Because the complexities were high. You know, if you look at even within India, every state has its own rules and regulations with regards to quarantine, COVID-19 negative certificates. Do you need an RT-PCR? Do you need an antigen? So yeah, it's quite complex. Just imagine if this is the situation within India, when you start traveling abroad into multiple countries, how do you start tracking all that information? So what we did at our side is to try and see how do we restart travel, how do we build confidence. So before we went into that, we tried to do a survey. So it was a global survey as well as an India survey. On the global survey, we found out that 43% of the people who attended the survey found that catching and transmitting virus was a risk. The government imposed quarantine was again a problem. And of course, the fear of being stranded. You start with a negative certificate, but you end up into a particular state, but you're trying to come back, you get positive. So what happens to you? There were 39% of the travelers who want flexible change in the cancellation policies, especially with non-refundable tickets, limiting the number of passengers who can actually board a flight, and of course, the social distancing angle in general. So yeah, if you look at 40% of the travel said they would like to have an effective trace program, 37% said they want to see contactless payments, and 28% agreed that they would like to see biometrics to remove physical checks and reduce queues at airports. The India survey was similar, with 39% having the fear that, they will get, they'll get infected from the virus. 37 were concerned with regards to safety and cleanliness, and of course the government imposed sanctions. So when we knew all these details, the next step was, of course, to try and see how do we kickstart travel. So we created a platform which is called Safe Travel Ecosystem, and it is the largest collaboration of industry leaders, tech companies, governments, airlines, all coming together to try and see how do we kickstart travel, how do we make it seamless. And as I mentioned, every country has its own policy and it's dynamic, right? It just keeps on changing. So today, when a traveler, of course, reaches to an airport, typically he would have a paper document which tells him that he's vaccinated, he's a RT-PCR negative, Then of course he gets an okay at the boarding, then he gets an okay at the immigration or the border control, then of course okay at the hotel, the cruise, and so on from an activity standpoint. So this is a view of how a journey would look like, right? So the idea is that we have created something called a traveler ID, and it would be eventually available through an API or through a pure app, and we are trying to aggregate different health check companies. So in the next slide, I'll actually show who are the health aggregators, who are the companies which are actually providing the health information with regards to what is required when you enter into a country. What do you do when you reach an airport? You don't want to give your passport to someone and the person is touching and giving you back. Can you do it in a digital format? How can you do an OCR scan? How do you do the immigration clearance? And how do you get an okay to board and stuff? So health aggregators, these are the different health aggregators who are there in the market today. And of course, more are adding on. You have the travel rules providers with Thematic, Riskline, and Sherpa. And you have also the diagnostic centers. So the idea is when I reach to the airport and I say, hey, I am, I have a COVID negative certificate, or I would say, hey, listen, I am vaccinated twice. How do you authenticate that information? So the whole idea is that, and this is the biggest example of blockchain today in the travel industry to recover, restart travel. So at any point of time when, at the airport, when the person is actually, or the system, the robot is actually looking at the barcode, it actually tries to access your passport information. It actually tries to access your other information which you want to share, which is of course reusable. And also it connects to the diagnostic center so that, the information is authenticated at the back end from a genuinity standpoint. And of course, the Thematic, Riskline, and Sherpa actually tell you that if I'm going, for example, from here to London, I, as an Indian citizen and a traveler from Indian point of sale, what are the rules and regulations do I need to follow? Maybe I need to follow a 14-day quarantine. Maybe I don't have to. Maybe I need to have a negative certificate of RT-PCR. Maybe I need vaccination certificate. So yeah, at this point of time, Amadeus IT is trying to work with different airlines. We have some airlines who are already onboarded. Star Alliance is the biggest network of airlines together. We're trying to work with them to get a unified setup where information can be exchanged. So not necessarily this is a revenue model today. The whole idea is that we being a large part of international travel and of course domestic air travel, try and recognize the problem and try to work on solutions. So yeah, exactly. So you reach to an airport, you do a scan, and some of the airports are already live, especially Frankfurt airport. So yeah, especially from an India standpoint, it's still work in progress. But yeah, I'm sure we will make progress. So the idea is that you have a booking, you reach to the airport. Of course, the digital identity is scanned. Airport experience also entering into launch and many other areas is taken care of. So the whole idea is that it becomes a complete touchless environment. And I think, yeah, we are waiting for a third wave, a fourth wave, fifth wave, God knows. And, I think now this is going to be a norm. So this environment is not going to just end with COVID-19, but, I think this will become a norm in general, how travel will take place. And the second tech which we are working on is virtual interlines. So what is happening is that a lot of airlines are not necessarily traveling across everywhere because some airlines have gone bust, some airlines are recovering, some airlines have cut down their operations. So the whole idea is that earlier, if you had to travel from India to somewhere or from any other point of sale, you had either an online connection, which means you're traveling on the same airline, or you would have an interline connections. So now the idea is to try and connect a passenger or give a recommendation where the airlines are different. For example, just imagine that you go from Delhi to Dubai on Emirates, but from Dubai to you go to US on Delta Airlines, and Delta Airlines and Emirates have no interrelation per se. But and other than getting a recommendation, the recommendation is also cheap. So we are trying to work on the back end using machine learning as to what are the different airlines people opt, and try and make recommendations which otherwise historically never existed. So to the example, how Mr. D.K. Singh was actually explaining that if you go from Delhi to Mumbai and you stop at Jaipur, so yeah, it's a similar example, but more from an online international travel standpoint. This is more on the back end as to how it looks like. I'm sorry I'm constraint of time. I would have loved to explain more, but if anybody wants to understand more, yeah, happy to explain. They can reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ravi Jakula. In fact, you have enriched us, especially with the current scenario with the COVID wave going on, and how we will need to reimagine the travel and transport system. Your very pertinent and very relevant presentation. I'm sure there are many questions and they are being put on chat, but I would request all the people who have questions and queries or want to know something more about it may kindly put in their mail ID so that the detailed reply can be given by the panelists and the speakers to them. Thank you so much. Now I invite Mr. Siddharth Pisharoti. He is the Regional Vice President, India, SEA and AP Carrier Akamai. Mr. Siddharth looks after the sales at Akamai Technologies. He is responsible for leading sales and driving Akamai's growth in India, Southeast Asia, and carrier division across AP. He is responsible for the design and execution of Akamai's go-to-market strategy in these regions. He has been with Akamai for 14 years, and he has played an integral role in building the media business at Akamai over the last 5 years in different roles across APJ region. He also held managerial positions in emerging customers group, international markets, and was instrumental in incubating the emerging customer group expansion in Krakow in 2011 and building Akamai's India business over the years. Prior to Akamai, Siddharth worked at Wipro Technologies. He holds a bachelor degree in electronics and communication from Madurai Kamraj University. I hand over the space to Mr. Siddharth to further enlighten us.
Introduction, and thank you to the Chris MD and the Chris team for giving us this opportunity to speak today. Let me just share my presentation. So reimagining, as one of my earlier speakers spoke about, reimagining the passenger services and the role of emerging technologies. To reimagine that, I think first we need to understand what do today's users and passengers want, and we all would agree in this group that being an omnichannel business is just no longer a big advantage, but it is actually the necessity. And if you look at what the passengers want, it's all about digital inclusion, being uniform and fair user experience across, irrespective of where the user comes from or what demography the user comes from, how we can provide a seamless integration of other apps and APIs and applications that interact with the online services. And finally, it's all about personalized engagement. Without that personalization, it's difficult to actually make sure that the consumer experience is to the extent of what they expect. And dwelling a little further into this, what does the seamless and consistent online booking experience mean for end users across devices, right? Today, we live in a world which has a complex ecosystem of applications, third-party scripts, various business logic that we need to adhere to. And the fundamental thing is, and the irony of all of this is, the customer expectation is actually inversely proportional to the complexity. And hence, how an application engages with the customer drives the adoption and the loyalty. So the big trend that we are seeing from our vantage point is that it is imperative, or it's almost like mandatory, to take the delivery, the security, and the business logic to the edge of the internet, because getting as close as possible to the end user has become the norm. And the key is, how do you avoid the inherent internet and origin delays that happen when you're far away from the end user, and how do you improve the customer experience? And also the personal experience. Personalization is a key trend to deliver the individual engagement during this complete customer journey. And last but not the least, we all would see that videos and images are becoming a big part of the digital journey. Delivering high quality engaging experiences across all devices when there are heavy bits on the application like videos and images becomes a very crucial part and a very critical part of enhancing customer experience. Um, so in a nutshell, right, it is A, how do you provide a fast and enhanced booking experience? Two, how do you provide an exceptional digital experience to the consumer who come on board? And taking this further, so what are some of the technologies that are prevalent today? What are the emerging technologies? And frankly, some of these are not just emerging; they are right here and right now. And um, some of again, earlier Mr. Singh also spoke about this, and there were a couple of other speakers who spoke about AI and ML. But these are some of the key technologies that we see from our vantage point that have become extremely critical in reimaging the future of passenger needs. And starting with cybersecurity, right? Railway systems and operators are increasingly coming under attacks from cyber threats. As a matter of fact, recently, some of you might have heard or read about a tier one European railways being under attack, and there's been data breaches and ransom threats. Too often, cybersecurity solutions are offered as a one-size-fits-all package. But
Voice is
the
not.
fact.
Could switch off your video, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Please carry on.
We can hear you fine.
Okay, I heard a message that the voice is not clear. Okay, sorry about that. So what I'm saying is that we often see that the cybersecurity solutions offered are like a one size fits all, and the problem is that it doesn't fit all, and there are a lot of intricacies in individual transit systems that expose the risk, and the problem gets even more complicated by the fact that a lot of the technology today that exists, and this is a general trend, not particular to what we have in India, but what we see in the industry is a lot of the technology is a little old, and with life cycles sometimes even as old as 20 years or 30 years, and then you're adding on the new age advanced components on that. This completely exposes the threat landscape, and hence it's extremely critical that we have a end-to-end solution that to manage your cybersecurity aspect and ensure that all the attack vectors are kind of protected against. And and I spoke about the age legacy components, right? They were never designed for keeping cybersecurity in mind, right? 25 years ago, 30 years ago, we were not used to DDoS attacks or ransomware attacks. Yes, there was the concept of maybe hackers a little bit, but that was about it. But today, the world has completely changed, and hence it's extremely critical on how you view your cybersecurity. And the other technologies here are again very emerging, and I'll spend just a little bit of time before I move on, which is 5G. So the speeds are going to increase, the latency is going to be less than 1 millisecond when the 5G comes into picture. Then how are we going to cater to our customers when that happens? So that's one critical aspect. Along with 5G that goes is the IoT, the Internet of Things. I think between 5G and IoT, there is a big amalgamation of technology which can help in driving a lot of better experience for the consumers. And in conjunction with 5G, IoT will be the key technology in delivering this extremely enhanced digital experience to modern travelers. I think IoT helps with analytics, which can help the railway operations to find data-driven solutions, and it can help a lot with things like fleet management and operational efficiency. Um, Artificial intelligence and machine learning, I think enough is said about it already, but I would say that it's a very, very powerful tool, which is data that we have today. The big challenge that everybody faces is how do you use that data to get a better consumer experience and to get and to drive your business ahead. And I think AI and ML is the future there. And last but not the least, blockchain. We're already seen, if you some of you might have heard, Deutsche Bahn in Germany became the first railway company in the world to use blockchain-based technology for their transactions, and I think it could be a big game changer as we move forward. Now, there's a lot of emerging technologies, but I'll focus the next few minutes purely on cybersecurity and how we play a role there. And when it comes to cybersecurity, I think there are, in the context of what we're discussing here in this forum, there are four key things that we need to worry about. One is inventory hoarding and price scraping, right? So if you look at today, more than 50% of the requests that come to a website are non-human, which means they're coming from bots. They are coming from scripts that someone has written. So it's important to have a good visibility on end user in order to drive the desired outcomes. Inventory hoarding, price scraping are very prevalent in the hospitality and travel industry. And hence, we need a way to identify genuine users and managing these bots on a real-time basis. So that's one very important thing. The second point is protecting digital assets and protecting user data, right? With digital footprints becoming complex, there's apps, there's APIs, there's devices. You are only as strong as your weakest link. So for business continuity, it is imperative to protect your digital assets against large and complex attack vectors without compromising on the experience that the user gets. And last but not the least, on business continuity, with employees working from anywhere, it's also increasing the threats of compromise. Because today, if you see, with the working from home, we're all working from home, the public internet has actually become your corporate network, right? Internet is the new corporate network, and hence legacy controls like perimeter defense won't work. So you have to look at new age zero trust models to actually give that access and protect your employees and your partners from different attack vectors. Moving ahead, again, in summary, there's two big buckets where someone like an Akamai comes in and helps our customers with. One is how do you secure that customer experience, right? And second is protecting customer data, personal information, right? In terms of, I spoke about the inventory hoarding and price scraping. It's extremely important to protect the ticketing portal from these hoarding bots and ticket frauds that are being done by some of these aggressive travel agents. We've seen reports time and again of how they're doing this. And second part is, how do you protect against distributed denial of service attacks? It's growing day by day, and how do we provide that redundancy? And Akamai has really worked solutions in that area, and where we're working with a lot of companies to help them against that. And on the customer data front, it's extremely important to stop credential abuse and account takeover attacks, right? So we're seeing again that there's a lot of credential abuse happening. There are hackers who are taking over attacks, and so defending against that is again a key trend, and it's something that we really need to invest on. And last but not the least, there's also third-party script vulnerabilities that are happening, and there are new attack vectors that we are seeing. And these are also causing a lot of issues with managing large travel portals. And that's, again, an area where we've invested heavily and have solutions to protect against. So quickly moving to the last part of my presentation, how is Akamai helping the industry, and what have we done in this area? So I spoke about what the customer experience was. I also spoke about cybersecurity and what are the leading threats. Now here are a couple of examples where we've worked with railways globally, and how we've helped them. So there's two examples here. One is with one of the busiest European Union railways. They were having this bot attacks, and there were ticket scrapper bots which were, going on and stealing the information about the ticket pricing and availability and etc. Then they wanted to stop this, and they used our bot management services to actually prevent against that, and we were successfully able to prevent that. And the direct impact was, we stopped that financial damage, and we were able to protect the customer against that. And another good example I spoke about the zero trust model about, and giving access to employees. And again, with one of the largest public sector railways in Italy, as the COVID pandemic hit, they had almost 30,000 employees working from home, and their VPN couldn't scale beyond 4,000 employees, and it was just not a scalable model. And that's where we had our enterprise access solution go in and help them to pretty much, overnight scale, the access, but at the same time protect their employees from any security breaches. And again, we work with various online travel agents in India, various airlines across the globe. Here are just a few big names that we work with. And primarily, I won't go into each of them in the interest of time, but primarily we're either working with them, protecting them against the denial of service attacks or against these bot attacks. And we've time and again been able to protect these OTAs and airlines and railways against these different type of attack vectors. Finally, Akamai at a glance, we're a global platform. We're present across 136 countries. We're managing, over 1.3 billion device interactions per day, 100 million IPs, over 50 Tbps of traffic delivered on average every day. And we have around 7,700 employees across 60 global offices. And finally, in India, this is we're present across 49 cities. This is our server presence, delivering about 13 plus Tbps of peak traffic, supported by 2,000 employees, and our servers across 300 points of presence. I know I went a little bit over, but I hope this was useful. And once again, thank you for your time today, and thank you to the Chris team for putting this together. Truly an honor and privilege to be speaking here. Thanks, and back to the moderator.
Thank you, Siddharth. In fact, being a general manager, new generation e-ticketing, I also feel that this concern of cybersecurity and its reach is a very big concern for us, and it's always nagging. It comes in different forms. In that light, your presentation was very impressive and informative. Thank you so much. Now we have a presentation by Ms. Carlotta Lauren and Mr. Jonik Auger, Thales Group. I'm sorry, I hope I've got the pronunciation right. Thales Revenue Collection System France is involved in the implementation of latest ticketing technologies in the world. To give a quick reference, they have the largest presence in Delhi metro network. Today we have Ms. Carlotta Lauren, Marketing Director, Mr. Jonik Auger, Program Director, and Mr. Naval Sharma, Program Director, Indian Operations, with us. Ms. Lauren is a true professional with full control over time plans and quality, always a solution finder, as she says, to tricky problems. She is the Marketing Director, Thales Group. Mr. Auger has a very long experience working in the industry, and the speakers have got a vast experience in implementation of automatic fare collection system and passenger services related technologies. This is something very relevant to us, and we eagerly await to listen from them. I hand over the space to them. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Good, you may carry on.
Yes, Carlotta, you can start, please.
So we are very pleased. Is the display okay with you? We are very pleased to present us to you today. Thales Group is a worldwide company that has a global presence all over the world in several markets, mainly dedicated to services to governments and to authorities. We are working in ground transportation, but also in security, digital identity, and even defense, etc. We have a heavily R&D footprint also, with our engineers working in AI, cyber security, etc. As far as fare collection is concerned, we are involved in ticketing projects for over than 4 years. We are part of the main certification bodies worldwide, and our presence in India dates back to more than 20 years. I will first start with account-based ticketing and what we can share on this, and then I will be presenting our innovations and our mobile ticketing solutions we have had the opportunities to roll out for our different customers. First, then, account-based ticketing. Yvonique, the floor is yours.
Yes, Carlotta, thank you, and good morning to everybody. Thank you to give the opportunity to talk about our system. We are in charge in our company to provide system to collect the revenue. So this is something very important for any transport operator to have a system which has good performance and bringing all facilities to the passengers. Just as it has been said at the very beginning, yes, I have a long experience in India, and I was also there 30 years ago when we brought the first system for fare collection in Kolkata with magnetic technology. Then we started with the contactless, to bring the contactless technology in India to Delhi Metro, and we implemented, let's say, 80% of the ticketing infrastructure in Delhi Metro. This system in operation today, processing more than 3 million passengers, or at least before the pandemic. We based it on contactless by use of two media. One media is the token for the single ride ticket, and one store value card, the Metro card, Delhi Metro card, which is, let's say, the store value through which each passenger can pay his trip. Now, we have a new technology at our disposal, and what is emerging in our segment. The system in place, legacy system, Delhi Metro, are based on card-centric technology, meaning that all the information are inside the card, and the validation of the trip, the payment is done between exchange of data between the card and the front-end equipment, whatever the gate, the TVM, the TOM. Now, what we can see is the new technology is account-based ticketing. It means that all this data are stored inside the back office, and the media is used only to identify the passenger and to create the link between the passenger and his account in the back office. This is a kind of revolution, because thanks to this centralized system, it's now possible for any operator to use to use the system to manage the fair, to propose promotion, to organize special events, to combine several sections of a trip. Also, what is very emerging today is EMV technology. EMV technology is somehow the link between the ticketing world and the banking world. Why? Because it is a technology based on the use of a banking card. So today, several systems, and we also implemented several systems based on EMV. The EMV concept is seen in the world on two aspects, two major solutions. One is what we call the full EMV concept using the standard bank card, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, whatever. And this system, our ticketing system, must follow, of course, the standard, the banking standard, the EMV standard. Then the transaction is done through a validation at any entry gate and exit transaction also at any gate. And the transaction is rebuilt by the ticketing system in order to be sent to the bank or to the acquirer in order to debit the passenger on his card for the trip he has done. This is one concept of EMV. Another concept of EMV is what we can see in several countries, and especially in India with the standard NCMC, National Common Mobility Card, which is based on the use of a standard card, the RuPay card, in which it's possible to have access to a special zone dedicated to the transit. And then the EMV, full EMV brings advantage in matter of security. We were talking about cyber security. It's almost the same concern. But thanks to this kind of standard and CMC, we can have the facility offered by the EMV through the security of the transaction, but also we can manage the deduction of the fare immediately from this memory zone on the bank card. So in Thales, we have developed several platforms. And Carlotta, I let you to talk about our basic platform, which is TransCity.
Yes, so based on our 40 years experience in ticketing, from account-based to from card-centric to account-based, sorry, we have inherited all the experience we gained from our different customers to build up a global platform, which allows for card-centric, EMV, ABT. We facilitate the transition from legacy ticketing, and the customer. The core of the system are the fare rules and the fare services. Of course, we also handle the customer services, the everyday operation of the devices in the station, in the buses, in the tram, etc., and up to the level what we call in the ticketing industry the level 4, which are the financial services, and all this data from the platform can be used for business analytics. Of course, since we've been involved in complex projects all over the world. The platform is well fitted for multimodal, multiple operator customer journey. With one ticket or one smartphone or etc., you can start to travel by bus, finish by train, and the payment is integrated. So if you have a close look at what EMV is, as Evonik already said, it's kind of a transition from ticketing world to the banking world. As far as you accept bank cards in your system, you need to integrate the bank rules, the banking system rules. So as you can see, there's a Transity in the first layer that interacts with the bank of the country in which the ticketing is, and globally the acquirer bank. More in details, if we look at security, what is important to say is that in the EMV world, we do not handle banking data. We tokenize the data, and then it's secured all over the ticketing processing. We handle the risk. We do journey reconstruction from the taps of the bank card, and then we handle over the ticketing transactions to the payment gateway. That makes the payment gateway that makes the payment gateway job, which is handing the request for payment to the bank of the operator. We've had two EMV recently, two EMV projects, one in South Africa, in which we rolled out the Eurocard, MasterCard, Visa standards for traveling, and also the NDAT card, which is a South African card with a stored value. NCNC is kind of similar to the NDOT card. Then how to get into account-based when you have a card-centric solution. The solution, the answer from a high-level perspective is easy. You keep the legacy system and you add the account-based system. Of course, if we get into details, it is a bit more complex. In our project for South Africa, we are keeping the database from the legacy system, and there are gateways with the account-based system, and both data are merged in a third phase. I'm sorry. So then, as already said, our references are in Gautran, South Africa, as you can see in the picture. The system is now card-centric, Park and Ride, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, American Express compliant, and DOT compliant. Of course, to be EMV, it is certified for PCI DSS rules, and it was rolled out in December 2018. So we also have rolled a EMV project in the Netherlands. We are providing ticketing solutions for the Netherlands, different operators in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, etc., for almost 20 years. And recently for Rotterdam Metro, we have been creating an EMV compliant add-on to the existing solutions. So we are keeping the devices which are in the stations, and we are upgrading them so that they accept the bank cards. The system is currently in test, and it will be rolled out in January 2022. Also, in terms of our contactless products, you can see here the gates that we deliver for EMV, and devices are all in one solution. You can tap with the bank card, another type of card, contactless, or even a QR code. And all the devices are certified visa ready for transit. In terms of mobile solutions, now I'm going to show you an overview of the type of solution we've been rolling out. We are bundling with a company that used to be called Gemalto for bank card and travel card digitalization, and we are providing digitalized digitalized travel. Also for Rotterdam, again, we have rolled out an app for travel in 2019, which was quite in time for the pandemic and was really heavily used for contactless travel. In terms of travel digitalization, we've had projects for Hong Kong and Octopus. We've had in France projects for the cities of Strasbourg, Bretagne, and the cities of Strasbourg, Lille, and Paris. And we've also worked with SNCF operator and Bretagne area for travel cards digitalization. And now the travelers can use their smartphone to travel in these operators. And we can also, from the comprehensive back office I showed you before, you can purchase a QR code ticket online and have it on your smartphone, and you will be able to travel with the taps are recorded all along the line, the travel, and we have also the travel reconstruction available. In terms of innovation, to give you a quick overview, we've been working, we are constantly working and thinking how we can improve the service to passengers, how we can ease the travel, how things can be easier and smoother. So in terms of ticket vending machine, we've had experienced voice interaction feature, which means that instead of using the machine, the tom, you turn to it and you speak. I would like a ticket to Bangalore, please. And then it's currently available in several languages, and it provides tickets for the entire selections of stations, excuse me. In terms also of ticket vending machines, we've been integrating customer services with the video command. If the traveler is annoyed with the purchase of the ticket, he has a button he can push, and then he will be linked to somebody in a customer center that will be able to see the screen, to talk to the person, and also trigger the printing of the tickets. Or if there's a big issue, to trigger a ticket that the traveler can have and go to the ticket office to explain, I had money on my card and now I cannot be refunded, etc. All the customer help use cases have been envisioned, and this is currently in operation in Hong Kong. For when it comes to the passage logic, we've been working on the 3D experience to improve the detection of passengers. And this solution with a 3D sensor is currently in operation in Amsterdam, where we've been able to improve the detection of people with backpacks, people passing through the gates with bikes, and it adapts to every type of passengers, and it smooths the flow of passengers through the gates. You have here the same technology that we've recently rolled out for Dubai 20, that was to be Dubai 2020 Universal Exposition. And so this is the same 3D detection of passengers to improve the flow of passengers to the gates. We've also been working on remote technologies such as be out or walk in, walk out, either with smartphones, with beacons. This is for the moment under research and development. And we do have a project in Bordeaux in France in which the validators in the trams are fitted with Bluetooth beacons, and they detect the passengers' smartphones. When the passengers comes by the tram, he receives a notification about the travel, and he acknowledges that he's currently traveling, and then the travel starts. In answer, the passenger gets a notification that looks like a QR code, that actually integrates a QR code, that he or she is able to show the ticket inspector. We also been working on totally hands-free solutions. We have projects on biometrics, and I would be happy to explain more, but due to time constraints, I would leave the floor.
Thank you, Thales Group. It was indeed a very, very informative session by both of you.
Thank you.
Due to time constraint, we may not be able to take all the questions on this forum, but we'll answer all the questions in person. We'll address it to the speaker and they will send a mail to you. But we'll surely take a few questions over here. The first question is from Shaileshwar Dayar. It is for you, Vivek Srivastava, sir. How the Rail Madad application is receiving complaints from social media? Is it through some tool or through manual watch on net? Is there accessibility support enabled in mobile app website for Divyangjan, blind users, etc.?
All right. All right. So, Shalishwar, this is the first part of the question is regarding the handling of the social media. The social media, primarily the Twitter, we get about 18,000 tweets per day. And out of these 18,000 tweets, they are fed into a software that we have, which is basically using the NLP, the natural language processing. And then we generate some about 3,000 odd tickets on the basis of the sentiment of that particular tweet. If it is a negative tweet, then only we generate such a ticket. Even after that, we pass all these tweets through our agents. We have a team of about 5 or 6 agents in each shift round the clock who look at these tweets. And if they find that it is something which is really a complaint, then it is transferred to the social media, from the social media to the Rail Madad portal through a manual interface, of course, by involving the customer, because we need his phone number for further communications and for basically asking any additional detail that we might have. So it is a part technically driven, and part of it is a manual interface. The second question is that whether we are having anything which is making the app and web applications for the Rail Madad Divyang friendly. So right now we are in the process of developing it and conforming to the GIGW norms. But otherwise also it must be appreciated that there is always a phone connection which is available for any kind of a complaint or a request which is to be made to the railways, and a direct access round the clock in 12 languages is available. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question that I'm taking is for Ravi Jakula, CEO Emidus. The question is from Ranjit Kumar Chaudhary. He's asking how should be the seat berth map provided during booking when hundreds of users are doing booking for same inventory at the same moment or time. And there's a related question also, how dynamic pricing of rail ticketing should be designed. Mr. Jakula.
So in terms of seat map, at the time when you're actually doing the booking, just imagine that you go to makemytrip.com and you try to do a search and you get a recommendation, and then of course you're trying to book that particular flight. So it depends from airline to airline. So for example, with Amadeus, because if you're actually trying to book, say, Vistara Airlines on Amadeus, which is an Amadeus hosted airline, when you try and select your seat, it is guaranteed there and then. But if you book an airline which is not hosted on Amadeus, on any other GDS, even our competitors per se, the confirmation, it's not guaranteed at that point of time. Once you actually issue the ticket, the communication goes to the airline and comes back, then they actually give you a confirmation. So yeah, it's a good question that, if many people are actually doing, trying to book the same seat together, who gets it? So yeah, it's just one specific seat, and it's first come first basis. Also, it depends upon the GDS, which are the global distribution systems, vis-a-vis the airlines. If the seat map is an interactive seat map, then of course, the seat is blocked, but the seat is also blocked for next minutes, so it can vary anywhere from 10 minutes to half an hour. So beyond that, of course, the inventory is let go of. When you come to, how the pricing has to work, especially on the airline side, historically, the pricing has always been static, right? You have RBDs, you have economy, you have 4 classes, then you have premium economy, and then you have business. Now there's a new environment which is coming, which is called NDC, which is pushed by IATA. In that particular environment, for example, Shaili, just imagine if you are traveling, the airline would want to give you a personalized recommendation vis-a-vis somebody else. So it should not be the case that for you and who is a regular traveler to the airline, vis-a-vis somebody else who is coming for the first time, the airline can today actually try and give you a unique price option, which is not available. So yes, personalization is quite important. There has to be a price to loyalty. So yeah, so same price for everyone going forward might not work. If personalization will become important.
Thank you, Ravi.
Is that
actually in Indian Railways, it's also that the same seat can be booked by, one seat can be booked, then there's a wait list, then there's RAC. So that way, it's a little tricky how we're going to block single seat for that. The next question is to Siddharth. Siddharth, one is by Yogendra Kumar Jain. He's asking how Akamai Bot Manager identifies the scripting users in real time. And there are 2-3 more related. I'll read them also. Is Akamai API Gateway, does it help to prevent scripting on web applications and mobile apps also? And what parameters is considered to create Akamai bot signature?
So can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So I think the way it works is that we obviously, given the presence that we have and the amount of traffic that transacts through our network, we have the ability to identify between a real user and a bot. So what happens is we have built in-house technology that goes to the extent to figure out, based on how the user is behaving or a bot is behaving, we can identify whether it's actually a real human trying to do that or a bot. So for example, even through the haptic feedback on the mobile phone, you can actually understand if it's actually a human being who's trying to enter that information, or if it's actually a bot which is pretending to be a user on a mobile phone and trying to access the information. So we've built that technology in-house to identify, and once we identify, then we take the necessary action. So we work with the customers to understand what they would like to do with that, because and I think I should have said this in the talk, not all bots are bad bots either. So there could be some bots which are good and genuine and you need them. So we look at them and then we identify which are bad and good agents, and accordingly then we take the action in concern. So all of these prerequisites are discussed and consulted with the customer, and then we implement that as part of our solution. So that's how it is. And also I did mention to Yogendra on the chat that obviously there's a lot more technical details that I can't share right now because of the time constraint, but I will respond on email with more of the architectural related question on board.
Thank you, Siddharth. The next question is for Thales Group. It comes from Mrs. Suniti Goyal, who is the Chief CPE in CRIS. She is, in fact, my go-to person whenever I'm stuck technically. So the question is, how are you using the platform on premises and also on cloud? What services are deployed on premises and what are deployed on cloud? What is the application architecture? And there's also another connected question. How have you migrated from legacy to account-based? How is the data replicated between the two systems? And how is the data replicated between the two systems? Should I repeat it? Do I repeat it?
No, it's okay.
It's fine. We got it.
Carlotta, you want to start? I will complete.
Yes, actually, yeah, can you repeat the very first, please?
The very first question is about
how is using the platform on premises and also on cloud. The platform can be used on both. It's either installed in the customer server or can be hosted in a cloud. We've had tested the classical clouds such as Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And for the details with other solutions, we are also envisioning. Regarding the migration from the legacy to the account-based, in Houghton, we kept the legacy platform with all the data. We beside it, we rolled out the account-based platform with the account-based data. And then at a second phase, we are merging the information from the two platforms, and we are keeping data integrity on the legacy and data integrity on the account-based, and we are reconciliating the data of the two. And how is data replicated between two systems? I'm afraid I would need to ask our IT department and our experts on installation and IT, and I can get back to you by email.
Yes, I can complete if you
well,
don't mind.
How precisely?
Yes, we have of course the possibility to create the transaction at the validation at reader, at gate, for instance, with an EMV transaction. It is also indeed two transactions, one going to the ticketing system to manage the parameter for ticketing itself, and the other one going to the payment gateway to generate the EMV transaction for debit of the bank account of the passengers. So it's really needed in order to isolate all the part of the system which belongs to the bank world and which must be PCI DSS, while we are also able, thanks to the generation of the ticketing transaction, to manage normally the transaction at ticketing and to check all the business rules and everything through the ticketing system. But we can explain in detail through schemes. It's better than to try to explain that orally. We will be pleased to do that.
Thank you so much. In fact, I'm sure the engineers and the participants who are asking questions, they have counter questions of them. But if I take all the questions that are in my question box, we'll be seeing the evening today together. So due to time constraints, I'll be ending the question answer session here. But I'm not ending the answering session. We'll direct the question to the speakers, and we would request you to send the reply on the mail so that the learning and the information and it goes on. I am not an engineer. I am from sociology background, but I have been in CRIS and being the general manager, new generation e-ticketing, and being the moderator of this very, very informative session. I've learned so much and hope to keep on learning. My mind is full of information. No, not overload, it's processing. So I won't speak much. Just bid you a very goodbye and a very good day. Thank you so much to each one of you for coming over and sharing your experiences. And we are indeed enriched with all the information that we got from all the distinguished speakers. Thank you so much. Wish you a very good day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Have a good day.